huge part of my childhood. And this collection is still growing, by the way.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Arnold, Helga, Phoebe, Gerald, Sid, Grandpa, Stinky, Harold, SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, Keep the Krabby Patties handy, Squidward, Tito, Twister, Reggie, Rocket, Otto's sister, Ginger, Hoodsy, Carl, Macy, Junior high school life is crazy.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
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 Grandma,
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of AB in the Films. Well, it's September 15th, 2017, and you know what that means. I promised you guys I was going to talk about Nickelodeon. The Nickelodeon that I grew up with. Now, I grew up watching Nickelodeon from 1998 to 2008, and within those 10 years, I have seen shows and movies and events that I will never forget. Now, let's go back to where this all started. In 1998, a little movie came out called the Rugrats movie. The first Nicktoon I ever saw, literally, was Rugrats. But it wasn't the show. It was the Rugrats movie. Now, let me go into a little bit of a story here. In the spring of 1999, I was 6 years old, and at this time, I had never heard of Nickelodeon. Never heard of it, never watched it, never saw anything that was on it. Until one day, when I was in kindergarten, yes, kindergarten, and one of the kids brought in a VHS of the Rugrats movie. And we sat down as a class and watched it. So technically, if you think about it, the first Nicktoon I ever really did see was not the Rugrats, but Cat Dog. Because the Cat Dog bonus short shows up before the Rugrats movie on the video cassette release. So really, Cat Dog was the first Nicktoon I ever watched. And I'll give you guys a quick synopsis on when I think of Cat Dog. I love it. I did see that show on Nickelodeon in the years to come, and it's pure Nickelodeon to me. I love that show. It can be very funny. It can be exciting. The animation looks very memorable. The one thing I never understood when I was a kid is, why did Rancid Rabbit always have a different occupation in every single episode? Seriously, if you watch Cat Dog and you watch every episode... And by the way, let me just move these DVDs down here. This tall tower of Nicktoons. I got the complete series on DVD, which is great. Yeah, Shout Factory, you guys rock, okay, for releasing this. They also released Hey Arnold, the complete series, which I have. I mean, guys, I'm going through my childhood all over again with these sets. Danny Phantom's in there, too, complete series. Thank you, Shout Factory. But getting back to Cat Dog, the one thing that I don't understand is, why did Rancid Rabbit always have a different occupation in every single episode? Seriously. One episode he owns a restaurant, one episode he owns a mall, one episode he owns a toy store, one episode... he owns that cereal place. It was the Cavity Crunch episode. I don't know if you guys remember that episode. Yeah, like, I never understood why he had a different occupation in every episode. But it was a really good show. I do like that show. So that was the first Nicktoon I ever saw because of the Cat Dog bonus short before the Rugrats movie. So the Rugrats movie begins, and again, it's 1999, I've never heard of Nickelodeon, I never saw anything Nickelodeon related, and Rugrats movie starts on, and it's actually pretty good. I like it. I like these characters. I like Tommy and Chucky and Phil and Lil, Angelica and Dill, who was the new character at the time, and Susie and all these characters, and it was actually pretty good. And then... and I'll never forget this, we never got a chance to finish the movie. We didn't. School was over, because we started watching the movie, I think, the last hour of school. So, we got an hour into the movie, and then our parents came to come pick us up. And we didn't finish the movie. And I remember telling my mom, I was telling her in the car, I'm like, Mom, can we go to Blockbuster to rent this movie? Because I gotta see what happens in the rest of this. I want to see the rest of this movie. And I didn't know what it was called, but because it was a new release at the time, and if any of you guys know Blockbuster, when you went into, or any video store, when you went into a video store and it was a new release, tens and, like, tens and tens of copies right there in the front window, right when you walked in. And I took one look at the cover, and I'm like, that's the movie. That's it. We rented it. I took it home. I put it in the VCR. I fast-forwarded to the part where we were and continued watching the rest of the movie. And so that was my introduction to Nickelodeon, was the Rugrats movie VHS. And then I grew up watching the show later as years went on, and this is what I think of Rugrats in general, because I tell you, like I said, I've been on a Nickelodeon rampage these past couple of weeks. Okay, the first 2 seasons are on DVD. I'm still waiting for seasons 3 through 9. I'm still waiting for... because I've seen the episodes on here, and I took a look at what episodes are on seasons 3, 4, and 5. Like, almost every episode on seasons 3 through 5 I grew up with, okay? There's a couple on these 2 seasons that I did watch, but let's be honest, I think season 3 is when it started to get really, really, really good. Not to say seasons 1 and 2 weren't that good, they were. But what I think of Rugrats in general, I still think it's one of the best shows Nickelodeon ever made. I still do. The Rugrats movie, it was good. I liked it. I still like it. I still think it has a little bit of flaws. I mean, let's be honest. The movie was made for fans of the show. Okay? But, you know, here's the weird thing. I wasn't a fan of the show. I didn't even know it was a show when this movie came out. Because when this came out, and again, I didn't see it in the theaters. I saw it because some kid brought it into my kindergarten class one day at school. Completely by accident. But you would think watching the Rugrats movie would get me to start watching Nickelodeon. No, that's not what happened. Even though this was the spring of '99, which is when the Rugrats movie came out on video, I didn't know this was a TV show, not for another year and a half. Because when I went over to my aunt's house in Florida in the summer of 2000, I was laying in my sleeping bag on the ground in her home with my sister, and we were laying down flipping through the television. And it was 9 o'clock at night. I was 7. Flipping through the TV, and we were watching Nick at Night, and the Brady Bunch just happened to end. And what comes on after that? Let's talk about SpongeBob for a little bit.
SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Not only was SpongeBob the biggest thing on the planet at that time, but Nickelodeon was on top of the world to any kid in America watching it. Seriously, okay? Now, let me go over SpongeBob real quick, because I've talked... Now, I'm not going to show you too much of the DVDs in these episodes, because I've already talked about my DVD collection. But, guys, the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, this is when the show was good. This is when it was good, okay? This was the SpongeBob I grew up with, okay? Stop after this season, because that's when it started to suck. The early SpongeBob is the best, guys. Let's be honest, it's the best. All the characters, I mean, Squidward and Patrick and Mr. Krabs and Sandy and Mrs. Puff and Larry and Gary and all these... I mean, the show was just... It had its own thing to it. I always loved that Hawaiian-style music that the show has. I liked the setting of it. Like, there was something about watching that show in its heyday, in like 2000, 2001. Something about watching that show in the summertime. It was just great, you know, being a kid and watching that show every time it came on. Favorite episode of SpongeBob SquarePants from those days? It's hard to say because I love them all, but if I had to pick one, if there was ever a time when this episode came on TV, I had to sit down and watch it, Band Geeks. That episode, because the end of that episode is something that all us kids remember. And I don't know, something about that episode I really, really like. Like, I don't know if it's like my absolute favorite one, but every time that one came on TV, I had to sit down and watch it. before the DVD releases came out. That episode I had to sit down and watch every time if it was on TV. So that one I really, really do like.
Rusty Craig, pizza is the pizza, yeah, for you and me.
And then I remember when I was watching SpongeBob later on, I remember them saying on Nickelodeon during a commercial break, now it's time for a new Rugrats episode. And I remember saying to myself, that's a show? I thought it was just a movie. And then I started watching the show. They were showing the show in syndication from the 90s. I mean, we're talking, this is like 2000, 2001 when I was watching Nickelodeon. And already this show had been on the air for 10 years. So they're playing it in syndication, and I love it. I love this show. I mean, I was really interested in it, and I liked the characters. I liked the imagination of it. It was funny at times. Some of the adults in it were kind of funny. But, and let's be honest, we all hated Angelica. We all hated her. Like, she was just a whiny little 3-year-old brat that you just hated. But other than that, the show was good. It was a really good show. And then I started watching other shows on Nickelodeon. I started watching shows like Rocket Power, and The Fairly Odd Parents, and Hey Arnold. Oh God, Hey Arnold. I still love these characters. I bought the complete series, guys. And I'm still waiting for that Jungle movie, Craig Bartlett. You guys are working on it, right? I've been waiting over a decade for that. Me and every other fan of that show have been waiting for that. Because when the finale came out, when he can't find his parents, you know, and he finds that map at the end, and he's like, hey, Grandpa, look at this. And that was the end of the show. We never found out what happened next. But this year we might. So I'm excited on that.
We are riders on a mission, action, kids in play position, Rocket Power!
Rocket Power was another good show I liked. I mean, like, Arlene Klasky and Garber Kuspo, I think you pronounce his name. I could be wrong about that. They created some of the best shows for Nickelodeon. I mean, these are the guys that not only did the Rugrats and Rocket Power, but these are the guys that did Ah Real Monsters, The Wild Thornberries, not to mention All Grown Up, which I thought was okay. I mean, it wasn't the best, but it was good. There were some episodes of All Grown Up that I thought were good. I mean, it was interesting. You know, we watched the Rugrats for a decade, and then we watched them, what would it be like if they're all grown up 10 years later? Interesting. I liked it. And not only that, they also did As Told by Ginger. That's another underrated Nicktoon I'm finding out more and more. The Fairly Odd Parents, the comedy in The Fairly Odd Parents. Guys, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm still waiting for seasons 4 and 5. The comedy in this show still holds up after all these years. I'm still laughing my ass off to this show.
Don't you think the fool's pranks are more mean than funny?
Cosmo thinks they're funny.
Cosmo thinks everything is funny. Watch. Pudding.
She said, pull, and then ding!
Butch Hartman, his name is big when it comes to Nickelodeon. I mean, this is not only the guy that did The Fairly Odd Parents, but he did Danny Phantom. And Danny Phantom is in here too. I have that right here. Complete series of Danny Phantom. That's right. All 3 seasons in here, folks. The 3rd season has not been released on its own. The 3rd season was not released on its own. It's in here. So in here you get all 3 seasons of the show. Also, one more thing I want to say about Danny Phantom. Best theme song ever. And you know what? The Fairly Odd Parents, I love that show. I mean, this show, like I said, I'm still waiting for seasons 4 and 5, but this show, it's just, it's real. It still holds up, guys. It's still so funny. All the jokes, all the humor, the comedy is great, the timing is great, the characters are memorable. The Chip Skylark episodes are still some of my favorite episodes from that show because of the songs. The songs are memorable. We all know My Shiny Teeth and Me. We all know Icky Vicky. We all know Find Your Voice. Those songs are memorable. Recently, I've been buying a lot of Nicktoons on DVD because I found out Amazon had all these. And I'm like, whoa, I gotta get these before you can't find them anymore. Because Nickelodeon nowadays ain't showing them. They're not showing them. In fact, when they show SpongeBob, they don't show the good SpongeBob. They don't do that. No. Another Nicktoon that I really enjoyed a lot, the complete series In the Palm of My Hand. Yeah. Chalk Zone was a show that I did watch, but I didn't rush to the TV to turn it on if it was on. If it was on, I watched it. The shows where I had to run to the TV and watch it absolutely was SpongeBob, Hey Arnold, Rugrats, Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy Neutron. That's another show we should talk about. What are my thoughts on the Jimmy Neutron show? I still like it. There's no season sets of it, though. I've been wanting to get them on DVD. They have like a best of season 1, 2, and 3. They don't have the complete season 1, 2, and 3, and I wish they would because I would buy it in a heartbeat because I still like that show. It's still funny. And it is inventive. It is. It's the only 3D show I can think of that Nickelodeon made that I liked in that time period between 98 and 08. But yeah, Jimmy Neutron I still like. I still like that show. I still think it holds up. And as far as the Jimmy Timmy Power Hours go, that was something to see. I mean, like, okay, when you had one Nicktoon and another Nicktoon in the same thing, I mean, the world could just explode. It was huge. When you're a kid and you're watching something like that, that is awesome. Yeah, I like Doug. I do like that show. I like the Nickelodeon Doug, not the Disney Doug. Not the Disney Doug. I don't think you can get the Disney Doug on DVD. I don't think you can. In fact, all of the Nickelodeon seasons of Doug are not out yet. Only the first 3 seasons. There's no 4th season yet. And I'm waiting for that because the 4th season had the Christmas episode. You know, the one when Porkchop gets taken away because they think he's a crazy, you know, mad dog or something. Like, I like that Christmas special. Nickelodeon used to play it all the time in syndication, you know, back when I watched Nickelodeon. I haven't seen that Christmas episode in years, and I remember liking it. But, you know, it was on the 4th season, and that's not out yet. I'm waiting for it, please. Please release it. You know, but Doug, I still like that show. You know, it's about a kid in high school, and that's it. It's a kid in high school. That was the show, and I liked it. Here's another Nicktoon I really liked a lot. My Life as a Teenage Robot, Season 1. Yep, still waiting on Seasons 2 and 3. This show, the animation was unique. I remember that. I remember watching this show and looking at the animation, and I'm like, because it didn't look like Rugrats, it didn't look like SpongeBob, it didn't look like Hey Arnold. It was different kind of animation. And it was interesting. I mean, this is a teenage, this is a robot, XJ9, if any of us seen the show. XJ9 is a robot, and she wants to be a teenager, but she's also a superhero trying to have a normal teenage life. It's an interesting idea for a show. But I do remember watching this show when I was a kid, and it was on Amazon, and I'm like, you know what, let me get it, because I haven't seen this show in years, and I watched it again. I still like it. I still like this show. I still think it's pretty good. There was one Nicktoon that was new on Nickelodeon. It began in 2005, and I loved this show. And there are no DVD releases of it. I don't know why.
Gordon and Waffle and Mr. Blick, when the old lady died, she he left the bridge a mansion, cars, ice a kick, cat scratch. Oh, cat scratch.
I remember when Nickelodeon first premiered this show. It was in the summer of 2005, and the first episode, I think, was the one when they go to the moon to find rocks for Mr. Blick's cook-off or something. He's trying to find rocks to put in his barbecue pit so he can make these ribs and try to get him to win this contest, and they go to the moon. Now, this show is by every definition a cartoon. Big time, okay? And it's funny. Like, I do like... Waffle was always my favorite character in the show, because he was the stupid one. Gordon was always kind of meh, you know, because he was always the guy with the brains. Like, he was the one that would talk to the brothers and everything. And Mr. Blick... I basically saw Mr. Blick as a cat version of Mr. Krabs. I mean, he was always money hungry. He was always trying to get his own way. He didn't care about other people's feelings. He just did what was good for him. So there you go. That's how I saw Mr. Blick. But... I thought this show was funny. There were times in it when it was really, really funny. And I wish there was a complete series. I mean, it didn't last too long. I think it was on the air for 2 years, so... But I think there's like 20 or 24 episodes or something. That's enough to get a DVD release. I don't know why they won't release it. I'd buy it in a minute. And those are the Nicktoons that I watched as a kid. And guys, I didn't talk about all of them yet. Stay tuned for more.
Krabby Patty's handy. Squidward, Tito Twister, Reggie Rocket, Otto's sister, Ginger Hoodsie, Carl Macy. Junior high school life is crazy.
Not just cartoons. We're Nicktoons.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Grandma sings, Paul's rolls. Cat and dog have separate bowls. Invader Zim and Mrs. Bitters giving Dib a case of jitters. June and Henry, Baby Dill, Angelica and Phil and Lil, Susie, Kimmy, Chucky, Tommy, all their daddies and their mommies.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Not just cartoons. We're Nicktoons. Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons!
Wanda, Cosmo, Grant, and Timmy, all his wishes, gimme, gimme. Donnie, Darwin, Debbie, Mama, Liza talking to a llama. Jimmy Neutron got a blast, flying high, flying fast. Action League is in the air. The Flesh ain't got no underwear.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons!
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Not just cartoons.
We're Nicktoons.
Not just cartoons.
We're